Yeah, well, thank you very much for all those very interesting comments. I would emphasize that there are papers behind this, so you can Google my name, find on my website papers and photographs of the experiment and so forth. I'll just take these questions in sequence. First, to the lady from Apt Associates and your neighbor, the question of whether it's possible to learn from local successes and whether social levers that are about encouragement and so forth aren't more appropriate. You know, when you have these panels, you do have to choose, are you in this room or in the, but in real life, of course, both levers are operating simultaneously. Governments don't have to choose, governments do them both. So it's not either or, it's both and. But to the extent that specialization can help us understand things through scientific specialization and a disciplinary focus, the economics discipline proceeds by, rather than questioning the motives or the intelligence of the mother, the household, and so forth, ask what in their circumstances might lead me to do the same as them if I were in their shoes, right? So we don't, economists don't try to exhort or, question the motives of the person and say, you should be feeding your child more. Instead, we're asking, okay, what if I were in your shoes, I would do the same. What's the underlying constraints? And that's what drives the formation of the economic lever, which may be a fiscal kind of instrument, a traditional one, but economics is throwing up a lot of these behavioral or institutional remedies that we find are some of the most powerful levers. So I think John is right that CCTs are powerful levers, but also the kind of nudges. So in the United States, for example, in school lunches, where do you put the junk food? It turns out to be really powerful, that sort of thing. Those are, you might think of them as social, but they start from this point of view that the child is doing the best they can. It's the school's responsibility to place the foods in the right place, so forth. So Bernard Bashasha's question, can the private sector provide college certification? Absolutely. We see both, sometimes public, sometimes private. The question about the gentleman from IFAD in Rome, I think, was can micro-entrepreneurs produce for quality certification? Absolutely. We're talking about certification of all comers. It can be a tiny little firm. So in the Ghana work, these are, this is infant foods produced in someone's kitchen and sold. Linda Fuponi's question, whether the experiment in Mali included Cerelac, yes, absolutely. So that was the choice between Cerelac and these other foods. And then the question from India about the one about post-harvest losses and post-harvest processing, I think that's absolutely what this is about, is the linkage between agriculture and nutrition through the post-harvest processing that makes the density and digestibility, that's what this particular intervention is about.
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. Well, I'm fully with your statement that growth, particularly in the medium and long run, is a necessary condition, but as Richard pointed out, it's absolutely not a sufficient condition, right? And growth is, I think it's important for basically two reasons. First, for the direct income generation among the households. So in this case, it really matters how the growth takes place, what the structure of growth is, what the characteristics of the poor and malnourished is. Second, it's also important for generating revenues. We need, especially for investing in programs, but also for other investments, we need revenues. And for this, of course, growth is important. But only growth and only the generation of national income is absolutely not sufficient. And therefore, we should not differentiate between economic and social levers, because governments, they generate or they get these revenues from growth, and they invest, of course, also in social issues, in social levers and economic levers. So I think there is a close interconnection. And what we have seen in our study is that certain investments and programs are essential, and those very much depends on the local context.
Thank you. On this particular thing, I'm sure many of you are participating in that big discussion between Jagdish Bhagwati and the crowd on growth and social investments. Before I come on the right-hand side, let me take this liberty There is a stalwart in the room who has just stepped in, and before he slips out again, if I may, Mr. Anderson, with your great experience, we are looking for identifiable economic levers that can deliver either economic access or nutrition outcomes, because you have started an integrated program also. Some of your students may be doing that type of thing in different countries around the world. What are the best practices available which a country which has massive, malnutrition of children, this could be a magic bullet, silver bullet. Often we hear there are no silver bullets, but there could be some best practices that we are missing that can be adopted here. So I'm really looking for some of those ideas which can be operationalized by the policymakers. And if you give me one, I promise you we can take it to the place where it is needed to be discussed.
Well, I'm terribly handicapped because I've been coming and going, so I haven't really heard the presentations. But I think, since you asked for one thing, I think there's one thing we have to keep in mind, and that is, as idealistic as we may be to get farmers to do what's right for nutrition, there's something out there called a market.
That's right.
And unless we manage to either change consumer or producer behavior so that we can achieve the nutrition and health goals through the market, we're going to fail. And if we tell farmers to do something that conflict with the market, we either have to change consumer behavior so that we change the market and the demand, or the farmers are going to go broke. So and I'm an economist, and I'm, for that reason, obviously terribly biased, but I think we really have to pay attention to whatever we're recommending somehow has to be compatible with demand, supply, consumer behavior, and producer behavior.
Wonderful.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
This is the wisdom we are looking forward to, and all of you know Mr. Anderson is a World Food Laureate, so this is a golden opportunity for us to get some words of wisdom from him. I have done quite a bit on this side. I'll come back again. I have to do some justice on this side. Yes, that gentleman has been raising his hand for quite some time from Kerala. Yes, please, go ahead.
I am G.K. Pillai,
I'll come back.
Honorary Professor, University of Kerala, Trivandrum. So regarding the nutritional deficiency compensation, I would suggest that the consumption of pulses, edible oil, and fish should be encouraged.
Okay.
But unfortunately, India, being the biggest producer, consumer, and importer of pulses and edible oil, we can see that for the last 30 years, the area and production of this crop remained stagnant. There was no visible improvement in productivity, and the total availability is only about approximately 15 million tons of pulses, and we have to import every year about 3 million tons. But even then, we cannot meet the per capita availability of 20 kilograms per annum. So therefore, there is an acute deficiency. And apart from that, there is a skewness in the consumption, because the poor in the 3 decile group will get only 1/3 of what consumed by the richest segment of the society.
Okay, thank you.
Then there is another. Then regarding the edible oil is also the case that 7.5 million tons we are producing, and about 50% we are importing, and huge amount of foreign exchange every year we are spending for the import of these things. So therefore, the production, a 50% increase in the production of this can enable meet the deficiency.
Yeah, good.
Then for other regarding fish, also there is problem. This is the best nutrient available in our country, fish, for non-vegetarian section. And here, marine fish sector is almost stagnant because of overfishing. And then aquaculture or brackish fishing, we have to concentrate more on. There, the poor management and diseases are the major reasons. Therefore, more attention should be given in these areas.
Good, thank you.
So therefore, that is my suggestion.
Oh, there are a lot of hands. Wait. This is waiting for the last session. Let me do 2, 3. I have noted down hands here. But yes, please, next, please.
Professor Sheikh, since last 2 days we are listening a lot about the institutional changes and institutional restructuring and all these things.
May I request
But-
you to be quick and fast,
Yes.
because otherwise
My point is this thing, what type of institutions we need here in is a non-conventional institution. Transcendental institutions are very important because in the context we are talking about, because actually we want to be. Being is important in the respect of the things which we are talking about, doing and knowing this thing. That is the transcendental approach to the, because now the another important thing is that along with the incentive restructuring, we need lot many things to do regarding different kinds of scaffolding, which can help us a lot, this thing. And the last point that I want to emphasize is this, that social capital is a very important one.
Sure.
Now, it is very much in the light. Empirically, it is well established.
Sure.
And we know that we have got example in Kerala, which has worked. We have example in irrigation project, which are independently, without market, without government. 21 projects successful in Maharashtra.
Sure.
So therefore, social capital can do wonder, and it has been now recognized.
Sure.
Okay?
My submission, please. My
So
submission
therefore,
is-
this thing we should concentrate on social capital as well. This is
Sure.
a successful, some kinds of
All
thing. this
these
thing.
are important things. There is a special session going on social capital and inclusion. And okay, can I come to that lady there next to Pierre, and then to Lourdes, and then there's a lady here.
Thank you. My name is Diane Vincent from Canada. And first of all, I want to
Sorry.
apologize if I
I'll
will
come
cover
back.
things that the speakers have already mentioned because I came late in the session. But I heard the debate about, do you think about economic levers to influence the connection between agriculture and nutrition? And I was thinking actually about one. And the experience, I don't know if many people in this room know about Amul Dairy in India. So I think it's well known that Amul Dairy was based on a cooperative scheme with farmers and took out of poverty many farmers in Gujarat. And I want to come back to this milk example, and based on as well, if I may, some Canadian experience in the dairy production. We were not always well-developed countries in dairy. We had a lot of issues 50 years ago. But it started to change the industry when the price mechanisms was not based anymore only on volumes and fat. When the price mechanisms to pay farmers from a cooperative start to be based on protein content, it shifts the industry. It's not an overnight change, but everything aligned to have milk more protein, so we don't have that much fat, and we could produce more yogurt. So I think the milk industry is a good example where the price mechanisms in many places in the world started from volume and fat and shift to protein.
When
and
it-
it's changed the industry. So
Yeah.
maybe it's one example,
Good.
but I think the price mechanisms
Yeah,
is really
sure.
important.
Sure, thanks a lot. It's very interesting when you talk about fats and proteins in this country. This country produces about 10 million tons of soybean, and we extract all the fat, take it, and all the protein is, nobody knows where to throw it. So it's going out. So the pricing is based on taste rather than on the content inside. So that's, there was Lourdes there, and then I'm coming here in the front, and then,
Thank you. Okay.
quick, please.
I'll
Please
provide
be
some
brief.
good
If you want to
examples of
stop
best
at 12 o'clock.
practices.
Yeah.
I'll provide some examples of best practices
Yeah.
from our own projects in Asian Development Bank. First is the biofortification.
Okay.
We provided technical assistance to Central Asia, Central Asian economies for the private sector and the public sector to get together. And now we have a flourishing wheat sector that provides biofortified wheat. The second one is access to garden plots, also in Central Asia. And that was, again, another major factor for women to have access to garden plots so that they can produce vegetables. I'll focus on the other aspect, which you did not, and that's the health. In health, the third one is investments. Investments on very small things, rural to farm to market roads. It really made quite a significant impact on women farmers, so that, because they're the ones who market. The fourth one that you might be of interest in is the biogas. Biogas in China, which we provided also assistance, and now the government, and that now here the government is providing subsidies for it. And that one is using animal waste for biogas development, and that's very good for us, at least for the health of the women and the farmers.
Thank you. There's a lady here waiting for long. Yeah, please, here. Others have to hear at the back.
Thank you. I'm Rhoda. I'm from the African Union Commission. I wanted to make a comment on what Olivia said on growth, and also maybe underscore the importance of growth, because in small economies where you find that they don't have the advantage of, or maybe they have limited resources. To say that now they concentrate on nutrition is extremely, difficult. They have to look at availability first. So if you look at availability, but then eventually you can target and start saying, availing what? So the most important thing, I think, is the springboard. The springboard is growth, making food available. And a beggar has no choice. If you have limited, no food, you cannot just say, I have a choice.
That's right.
So for small economies, it's extremely difficult to go into having an economic policy, and also getting economic policies which are really targeting nutrition. I think I haven't listened, but I still need good examples where I can get good economic policies which can drive nutrition. But otherwise, it has been a bit of targeting some small, marginalized groups and all that. But how do we get a national policy which is targeting nutrition? I think we need a bit more examples at that level.
That's right. Kwajo. Oh, sorry. I'm coming back.
Kwajo from IFPRI. The issue of growth, I think the important part of the whole thing is where is the growth coming from? The source of growth. Sure. Who is all the growth in income? Who are the growth in income accruing to? Sure. Because these are the people who can then afford to buy better food and then get better nutrition. If it's coming from a small section of the population, we don't expect that the larger population, which doesn't get benefits from this growth in income, will be able to afford the nutrition.
Broad-based